What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NFL Showdown contenders on DraftKings for the opener of the NFL season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and make sure you're following me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. It's the only place you're going to get updates to these sim results as we get closer to lock. Rounding out the bottom of my top 10, Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Gallup, Ronald Jones, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper on the outside looking in. Who will be my favorites? My top 5 plays for today? It is time to find out. First up at number 5, we've got Mike Evans. He is 9,200 in the utility spot, projected for 15.3 fantasy points. And as if anybody doesn't already know it, Bucks, big favorites. 8-point line, 51.5 point total. PFF has the Bucks as the number 3 offense. They have the Cowboys as the number 23 defense. This just looks like a great matchup. Now, Mike Evans isn't my favorite Bucks wide receiver. We're going to get to another one there, but he's clearly a guy that you're going to need to roster regularly. He's got a 10% chance of showing up in the captain spot, a 32% chance of showing up in the optimal flex spot, 42% overall, just slightly edges out Amari Cooper. You see CeeDee Lamb also in the same range. These guys are kind of in their own tier, but Evans breaks free from the mold. He's got a 2.8% chance of going for north of 30 fantasy points. At that point in time, you're probably going to need him in the captain. But for right now, Mike Evans coming in number 5. Taking a little bit of a step up here for number 4 into a new tier, that would be Chris Godwin. He is 8,600, projected for 15.5. Obviously, he's got the same matchup going on that Mike Evans has, which is kind of exciting. But you expect Godwin to potentially be more involved in the passing game from a reception standpoint. So I think the target count could be a little bit higher here. That's going to naturally push him up. And he's cheaper. And I think that's a very interesting thing to see. Makes it a little bit easier to get to Godwin. 13% chance of being the optimal captain. 37% chance of being the optimal utility play. Either way, there's a coin flip chance that Chris Godwin is in the optimal lineup when all is said and done today. I like getting to Godwin. I'd happily pair him with Mike Evans. But if you're asking me to pick between the two, I'm going to Godwin. But we're not done yet with Buccaneers wide receivers. Number 3, the value option for today, $5,600 Antonio Brown. I've got him projected for 12.2 fantasy points. This is such a great opportunity for the passing game. You know Brady's going to sling it all over the place. What you're really crossing your fingers here for is multiple touchdowns. You're hoping that one guy gets 2 if you move on to the captain spot. And if you do that with someone like Antonio Brown at 5,600, you're really going to have the opportunity to fill out the rest of your lineup in a nice way. He's only got a 1.4% chance of going north of 30 fantasy points, but he's got a 9% chance of being the optimal captain at this salary. You don't see that all that often. 43% likelihood of being in the utility spot. 52% chance of just simply being in the optimal lineup. That's higher than Godwin, higher than Evans, higher than Cooper, higher than Lamb. Antonio Brown looks great. He's the best non-quarterback option in this entire game because of his price tag. Don't overthink it. Don't be afraid to play Antonio Brown. This one shouldn't be all that surprising. Number 2, Dak Prescott, 10,400, projected for 16 fantasy points. They're pretty big underdogs. You're expecting him to have to throw. PFF has them as the 15th best offense going up against the number 2 defense in the NFL. Doesn't seem like that's going to be a really fun task, especially for Dak making his way back for injury. We have no idea how healthy he's going to actually be. Hopefully, he's perfect. I think it's hard to assume that he is. He's got to be at least like maybe a half step worse than he was before. That's going to be interesting for the rest of the season. It's certainly going to be interesting taking on a Bucks D that's just absolutely loaded. 1.6% chance of going north of 30. He's got a 12% chance of being the optimal captain, 48% chance at utility. You're going to be using him a lot in the utility spot. It's pretty par for the course for a quarterback. So a 60% likelihood that Dak Prescott is in your optimal lineup. Now, before we get to the quite obvious number 1 contender for today, one last reminder, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. That all helps us out a ton. We've got The amount of NFL content that we're putting out on this channel or even on the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel or Awesemo Odds is staggering. Subscribe to all of them. Notification bell on all of them. The season is here. You don't want to miss it. Also, head on over to twitter.com and follow this guy right here, at Josh Engleman. Only place you're going to get updates to my sim results as we get closer to lock. Closing it out with the GOAT as if there was any other way around it. 11,200 for Tom Brady, projected for 17.1 fantasy points. Got a pretty nice matchup here against Dallas. They are the defending champs. I don't know what more we can say. Eventually, you assume age is going to catch up with Tom Brady. I don't think that's going to start tonight. So, 4% chance of going north of 30. 12% chance going less than 10. I'd be very nervous to see that one. He's got a 20% chance of being the optimal captain. He's going to be highly owned there. You're probably using him there in cash games. 48% chance of being in the optimal utility spot. Either way, you're getting Tom Brady in an optimal lineup more frequently than anybody else on this entire slate. He's the best option you can get to. Now, that doesn't mean you should be going to him no matter what in, say, large field GPPs. It's a little bit different. But if we're talking cash games, Tom Brady is at the top of the heap. Now, just to sum up my thoughts, where I expect this to go throughout the day, my two favorite GPP captains, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, just don't think they're pulling as much ownership as they really should be. That's where I've got my eyes set from a GPP perspective. Same sort of story for utility. I do like going to Dak. I think he's a bit underrepresented. Antonio Brown is just underrepresented clear across the board. And I don't mind getting to a little bit of Ronald Jones. Really like the price tag there. If we're talking about utility fades, Leonard Fournette, not a guy I'm loving all that much. Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, Tony Pollard. These are guys that I think are pulling a little bit more ownership than they should be, but keep your eyes peeled. I'll have my updates later today. Thank you for joining me so much on this NFL Contenders. We're finally back for the NFL. It's going to be a good one. Keep your eyes peeled. There's a FanDuel version of this video around here somewhere. We've got strategy shows. We've got data on the website, anything you could ask for the NFL, because it's starting now. Good luck tonight, everybody. I'll catch you guys again Monday for another edition of the Contenders.